Except may to ano, kumaganting, let's have a good day. Hi, hi.
Hai hai, oge mau tatamihanan is mam skutsigin minaya is muhtahet sigaya taisinimnog staigi gwe wawisu ta tahto askiu muta kapituhtia tunaya iwichi ko taisino nion musi tanmana igu muta kapamuhtian igo kaya sukaisino agota igi wi chigichik igi mam tinimgwa. I'll just share with you a story before I get into the. We actually have two main agenda items we're going to deal with this morning, and that's going to be cows and plows. There's going to be a discussion, and I announced before we started that I was going to speak on the water legislation. I had a family emergency, and she had to go home. But we're going to do the best we can. Janice and I will talk a little bit about that and just have a general discussion on that. But I wanted to share with you, I was working in the area of communications, and you remember all the celebrations that happened throughout Treaty 6 territory. And brothers and myself, we were asked to do the sound for, and we did some research. And those of you that know, I believe somewhere back here on the hill, our people came in horses and however traveled. They stopped up there and they got ready. The Treaty Commission and his entourage were already here, along with the Northwest Mounted Police. And so once our people finished preparing them, they come galloping down that hill. The whole bunch of them, they come and his party, and apparently the mounted police were wondering if they were being attacked. They were running around here, but when people got here, they stopped short. And that's just the way that our people were. They wanted to make an entrance and to have an effect. And so it was really interesting to be able to do that. But fast forward 2 years, it would be a good idea if that could be part of the plan, is a reenactment of what took place here. And we'll have to do a little bit of research. I know that Onion Lake probably has researched this quite a bit, exactly where the fort was, and approximately where the treaty commissioner and his party were sitting. And like I said yesterday, let's fill this whole place with teepees. Even if you ask each nation to bring a teepee, this place would look pretty awesome, I think. And I think we'll probably need a little bigger tent than this, maybe a big circus tent or something like that. But anyway, I just wanted to share that story with you. Back in 1876, I remember going to, 1976, I remember going to Saddle Lake. They had a very big celebration there that time. So with that, the two items that we a little bit of time to talk about this upcoming. Some of the other people have gotten here that we were expecting. Maybe Ogama later on. what the planning will be, uh, what kind of a statement is to be made. And at the same time, I believe this is probably going to fall on Janice again to write the letter for Ogama regarding the committee that's being set up and let the powers that be know. And at the same time, it's not too early to put pressure on both levels of government here, the provincial government and the feds. This last little piece of road, the 6 kilometers here, would be great if they could pave that and make the entrance to the park here really good. Because if King Chuck is going to come or Governor General, it'll be pretty big doings here. So with that, I'm going to ask Janice just to speak a little bit about the water legislation, what she knows, and we'll try to help her out, uh, fill in some of the information. But one thing I will say, people, is that in all my years of research into treaty number 6, um, going on 50 years now. I'm kind of aging myself, but my brother over there, he's older than me, my big brother. But I interviewed a lot of elders during my time as a researcher and doing the protocol with our elders. Not once did they ever say that they gave up this water. That's why the water was not even mentioned in the treaty, other than the rivers flow or the waters flow. That was all. Because I was told by the elders that the foothills and the mountains are so sacred that those we reserved unto ourselves, we didn't give them up, because that's where the water comes from. That's where the headwaters are, like over there in uh, Saskatchewan Landing, in that area. Very sacred place too. Talk a little bit more about that later. But and there's only certain medicines that grow only in the mountains, and that's why it was so sacred to them that they didn't give that up. They reserved that unto themselves. So I think that's important to realize. The policies that are in place in Alberta, for example, have this process, I believe, where they grandfathered in many handlers. Well, how about us? We were here a lot longer, way before they were, and we're not being even considered. It seemed like we're just kind of an afterthought, but that needs to change. And I'm in total agreement with the people that think and say that they have no right to legislate something that doesn't belong to them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Janice.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for coming to listen to these important discussions. I wasn't the person that was supposed to be presenting on this today. Um, she had to go back home for a family emergency, but um, I have read the legislation. We did prepare a briefing note, but we can't share this because it's just confidential right now. Um, but at a high level, there's a few things that are problematic with this, and they relate back to what I talked about yesterday as all of the federal government plans and agenda tie back to implementing a modern day white paper agenda. And so with this legislation, it's entirely flawed in that they're selling the law as us being able to have control and jurisdiction over water on reserves. And we don't need federal legislation to tell us that we have jurisdiction over water because that's inherently ours anyway. It was gifted to us by the Creator, and it's our responsibility within our laws and legal orders, especially those that understand the role and sacredness of women and the teachings of women. This is our jurisdiction, and we never gave the federal government um, any we did not give the federal government the ability to create laws for water for us. That's at a very high level the problem with this legislation. And the second part is it's part of the municipalization plan that Canada is trying to get us to believe that we need to participate and consent to, and we don't. So, with this legislation, the biggest thing is if we accept it and that law and the um, the guidelines and the regulations apply on reserve, then we also accept all of the liability that comes with that. And what I mean by that is right now, the federal government is held liable when there's anything wrong with the water and infrastructure. But this law intends for us to accept all of that liability. So, and it doesn't even come with funding. And we know now that we are already significantly underfunded, and by accepting a federal law that doesn't come with funding, it confirms in law that we will be perpetually underfunded because now it's in law. And so those are the biggest problems um, with this legislation. And Onion Lake has requested to make submissions at the Standing Senate Committee for this because currently it's in the Senate Committee where the Senate hears presentations from a variety of different uh, groups, people, nations, stakeholders, and based upon those presentations, they either make amendments or they don't move forward with the law. So the other good thing I think we have going for us is that there's almost the entire region, I want to say almost the entire region of Alberta chiefs are looking at a litigation strategy if this law gets passed. Um, However, there is some pockets in Treaty 7 that believe that this legislation is positive and that it grants us jurisdiction and the ability to make laws on water. But what I think is really important and we always need to remember is we don't need permission from any government to develop our own laws. Those are inherently based within our existence as nations and confirmed through treaty making as because we're sovereign. So the belief that we need a federal law to grant us the powers to have lawmaking powers is really problematic, and we have to come out we have to step outside of that thinking to know permission or laws to grant us that authority. It inherently belongs to us by virtue of being the nations that we are. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And a few of the nations that Onion Lake um, aligns with are looking at a lobby strategy to put forward our position based on the treaty and our inherent in treaty rights to deal with this um, legislation in the next month or two.
Thank you very much, Janice, for that overview. And there's really a lot to consider in this because a few years ago, Madam Diaz, um, who used to be the chairperson of the Indigenous Peoples meeting, the working group in Geneva, she did a study on Indigenous peoples' permanent sovereignty over natural resources, and I think that would be a good um, document to maybe depend on. I'm sure you've read it, Janice, and it speaks to not only water but all the resources that were illegally taken away from us. And so I won't say too much more on this, but even driving here each day, I noticed that a lot of the ponds are drying up, and different areas you go, you see that that's what's happening. And I think it has a lot to do with the way that our visitors are using the water. Like, for example, I mentioned this, I believe, a couple of days ago, that when we were in Coal Lake, it was in the news that there was a water shortage in Calgary, and they were really in a panic mode. So they put in place different restrictions on how water can be used for the time being. But little did people know that Edmonton has been under a water advisory for the last couple of years. They don't make it known out there, but some of us that try to work with the city, we know that that's the case. But at the same time, they're building like crazy. They're just building like it's going out of style. And I mentioned too that they're sure not building those houses and apartments for us. They're building them for the 500,000 people that they bring from overseas every year. If you do a little research, you can ask Grandpa Google, and he'll tell you that's the government's plan, and it's been in the news. 500,000 people a year, and you imagine how much water is used, and even with the building that's going on, a lot of that activity is very water intensive. So I think Ogimau, one thing that we can encourage your colleagues and the people that make these decisions is to sit down and write a letter to these people. Let them know we're a treaty partner, but never did we give up that right to determine who comes into our territory, because this is a treaty of sharing. And the Queen's people that our ancestors agreed to accommodate, it's no longer the Queen's people. They're people from all over the world, all colors and shapes and sizes, people coming here. Many of them are bringing their conflict over here too. Their wars and their, whatever problems they had back home when they fled their country. They're bringing them over here, and it's happening in the cities of this country. And in many cases, it happens that these very same people are the ones that are coming to our nations and pushing drugs and all of this kind of thing on our nations. So my recommendation would be, Chief, not that I'm anybody, but it would be a good idea to write a letter regarding that. And if there truly is, and I know there is a water shortage, they should consider a moratorium on building for now. and put a moratorium on importing, that's what I call importing 500,000 people a year to our country. So that would be my recommendation on this part here. And I don't want to say too much more on this. Just going by what the elders have told me in the past 50 years in interviews and meetings like this. We have a little bit of time now, so what we'll do is we'll just open the floor for some comments, maybe best practices. And, you know, recommendations would be good. I know we all have a story to tell, but at this point in our meeting, I think it would be good if people have an idea, or maybe they saw somebody doing a best practice with regard to what's happening here on water or anything else. We would be very interested in taking your comments and incorporating them into the deliverables and directives that come from this meeting. I see a hand up over there. Go ahead and, for the record, introduce yourself and go ahead.
Good morning. I'm the other woman. My name is Ella Aigbell, and I'm from Alexander. I was thinking about that reenactment. As I sit here today, I see it and think about the chiefs from Treaty 6. And my thought and my dream and my vision came to me about having the teepees around. Maybe every nation should have a teepee with their logo and some kind of history given. Dress up people like way back then, like Cookham used to dress up. There's so much I'm looking, you know, I wouldn't mind to see that happen in my time, where we go back, take a couple steps back and actually see it, you know. But that would be my recommendation, is to have every First Nation, along with the chief, standing by their painted teepees.
Hi, thank you very much. And more comments, and maybe for now, just more specifically on NIPI, what we do about the water. And just want to welcome the students here. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And I want to tell you a little something you might have already heard from your teachers. Right now we're talking about water. And in Cree, you call it Nipi. And Nipi literally means life. It's in two parts. Ne is Nia, that's me, mine. Pi is part of Pimatisuan. Nia, Pimatisuan, that's what water means, Nipi. It's important for you to realize that, so that you can, as you go along in life, learn to respect water. Water is life. I think Ogama wanted to make a comment.
Tansi. Ayo man tapuno mai. Kogi mawa piano ta. Hego piek tapun. Maga ko tagoma tapun tatuskiun min. Sini wapun. Hego ne ko tatuski magugi teeg. So ego mai nuhti mam skutaman. Nego imi lista. Kogi mau piisu. Nego imi. Isipi kak piisu ni mai tagun. Ego mam piuma. Skita gunagok. Pitsna way. Kigatin pi gip mutin gun. Ewas siuyan. Gian tatutin manigoma. Ego anus kagisa kagip mis mamtonita man. Hukimau piisu kiat mas nahamo. Ikihakas tamut matsun. Hiku tuuma kiano kihteeg. Kap muhtuimuyak. Aski tuugimau. Hipatin kiitanakiks kihtinanu. Nipium kakuyutak. Puhtauin no ikinamakuyak nipiip matsun. Humuma pimi kautsip matsuhuyak. Tahtu kayak. Higuamma muitapto kapimpuyo. Maka hiituan the greatest resource other than oil and gas is water. Skitinanu higuamma. Mugi higuif matsun kapmakutiuta. Kispiniga nipi. Joku ta kihteegi iutspassigui kistoa. Taskut nigitsi kihteegi. Kistoa eguti ka kismuk. Muinas patski kui kauapskuit intuta magistamaat. Magavis teguta kohtingid. Joks kiitsin tuta magistamoja kukseman kaga kisemujan. Intuta magistamookangid simaguista oisa kihtamaasutsik. Toasim sois oaskaamiga puid isuukuta vansik. Higuam mamma inuhti mamskutaman. Viinakuta kiivi. Numut sumna anuta. Skojatsikiga noita, kun jäni intahtahat missyksa. Ja kun jäni kiip meitu, yynäkä tamuahati, kun saakin hakan nuista kapum kasvuhtaik. Ja sitten kan tuo pinkiik YouTube känäptiitu, joku tehmäs neigaatik, 10 talking sticks, 3D sticks. Ja kun jänikin näkö tamagujak, minä kapnaa tamagujak. Taas kuuta mappi eikä mä ski mugi või hüppak tihtamak. Ja kui apsis kuuta mugi hüppak tihtamak kun jäni. Ja kun staaman nipi kakimas neihati kikut. Tipiä kau aps kui teeb tagohti tuolta mun neipaa neuta kun siitä maassa tuista kutsut maat huagit. Ja kun jäni intaat mis syksyä kun jäni kau kiikka noa pahtamuke kun jäni. Kiitun mun suunnan opitsuus. Tän spiita kuiskoga kiip muhtii magakin, missä syksoi kiip maitrin. Mä keikun ikmiä koska no iitä mukuuta käyts ussema. Ja kun ikani kistin kappaat siitä alkoo. Kappas kuunamak, stuhtamak ikutta. Ja kun juu kaikki ohi, kiikonka kiip näitä maguja kiiteegi kiip näitä maguja. Piisonka piikuhtaa aina ogi kui kannuhti piikuhtaa. Joksi nuhtii maitään.
Hey, thank you so much, Ogun Mao. And so we're going to leave the floor open for a little while longer. Anybody want to add to the conversation? And I just wanted to acknowledge Mrs. Egbell. That's a very good idea. And I believe your recommendation is taken to heart here. And I'm just imagining in 2026, some of my older brothers here riding down the hill in a breechcloth. Cha. Okay. Okay, hand up over there. Go ahead.
Good morning. Tamskanda agakyo. Ektamag nok ni gani tapyan enani subject pugo gemaok. Tantio magakyo tuk maganim nok. Kakyo gigo nuts kai migwa. Higom stegi go ektamaiwa. Magi way oniga niwe yawaya. Kakyo kanata magwa utegi spaktin gusia. Yawana ma momstay anotska gisagage e wani chige onigani win. Mitete taguak chiefs. Tantema pek snamasotik kiwa ek snamoitik. Munya na. Nista ni pepin uniganion ni peogemaon. Maga niganistan gagi simon kap motaiwan. Utan nistang gi pepin mite ta. Askon, igo ki Czechoslovakia, Magama momstate et gawas to niga niyo itagagagis mo. Spogan ga openit. Kak yogik skitena no. Mitse to itutian spogan ga openit mo yagek to niga niyo. Magi ta sunya gawi ay mo miti ko mitse tapchik. Eniga napchik. Umagay mo tami gawin tuma King Charles. Nista, sitos ken gawin tapmaya. We stegi kita sa tamait. Koma. Ito pista magwa. Maskuts kagima kagis muino gekta kaniga napchik. Uguya ko tagagugima. Kapesitos ko kan gagis muino. Muino na kugimaok. Magapoko wes kapik squat. Itagay tapchik me watch ton timagan. Moves na igoy ako kaganoim ko chik. Magigoy pics ko na ako, magigoy kagisimuin. Wanita ako wagutuin. Kispin wansin wag ogimawak. Utaw mi na po kay sino ka at wansin chigis pimtsahok. Ano to ta? Niso pag ogimawak apuak. Usam magigo tasun ya oya petanta on the table kapia pistot. What is the purpose of leadership? And I'm glad that the young people are here to come and hear these talks. I was a chief at one time, and I came to as many treaty gatherings as I could. A lot of leaders today say they're busy. I know that. I know I was busy. But what made me a chief? It wasn't the white governments that made me a chief. The Creator gave us leadership. The Creator gave us sacred responsibilities as leaders. Are we living up to those responsibilities today? Do we even know those responsibilities today? I'm not here to say our chiefs are useless and to give them shit, but to remind them, come back. Come back to your people. Come back to your Creator. Come back to the things that are sacred. We all know money is not sacred. So today, why are we like this? We cannot keep blaming the white governments for our pitiful state, stopping us from going back to what we had before treaty was signed. Life, that spiritual way, politics is, how mean, how divisive it is. Why do we stay there? I know right now there's a court battle between my band and Onion Lake over money. Why are we there? We shouldn't be there. Today we use prayer to guide us, to take us on a better road. That's where we should be. Before the white man came, we all learned to share. And we can all go back there. But we need leadership. We have the pipes still, we have the prayers, but we need our leaders to come back to that. So if we're going to have a meeting with King Charles, we better make sure that we have leaders that think right, that live right, that pray right. Because that is our greatest weakness right now, is how lost we are and how scattered we are. Muy gui tapim to know. Kimoneo to know. Hawina no ini sit. Hawina no takakit. Maskuts kwe mamo kamatua. Mamo witapntua. Kak yogak timagnatua. Those are my recommendations. Tatam skanda. Hey, hey.
Hai Wayne stegi e kaituin e wahaya kwa pahtina noya ksnahmatu uno maya mia sen maga mui kawan gisksia kista noya ksnahmatun tihis kini hiaun no ni hio skihtamaan matsun kagismun hai ekso maya we were just talking about a bit of an update on the water legislation. Maybe what we can do, because the person who was supposed to give us the details couldn't be here. So maybe what I want to recommend is let's move on to the next agenda item. And then I see you. The next agenda item is going to be the agricultural benefits, cows and plows. And then after we deal with that, we'll open it up for any recommendations that people have. So go ahead, introduce yourself.
Tansei, thank you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Councillor Teddy Bear, the one and only I like to call myself, from Muscadet First Nation. I want to acknowledge everybody here today, the chiefs, our chief, my friend, my brother, my cousin, Chief Ron Bear from Muscadet, Ugamal, sitting next to him. I forget your name, Ron. Janice is here somewhere. And thank you for everything this morning. I apologize. I give my regrets for the previous 2 days. I had to close out this great gathering. I want to go back to, I also don't want to overlook the young people in front. It's always a good thing and gratifying to see young people at functions such as this. So thank you for being here, youth. I want to go back to January of this year. I was invited to attend a Treaty Alliance meeting in Red Deer. Unfortunately, I was called away that time to a family emergency. And we were having a good discussion around the table at that time. Cheryl Venn from Muskeg Lake First Nation, my cousin Elwin Bear from back home, Janice Makosis was in that discussion also at our table, several others. And we just got started talking about water as an inherent treaty right. And then we started talking about taxation also, but I'll leave that out of the discussion for another day. But with this water legislation, I pointed out back home that we just got a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art water treatment plant facility in place. Much needed facility in our community. Everybody knows that First Nations communities that are all over the country are struggling with clean drinking water. A lot of horror stories. Our community is a success story, and we just made the news just last month, our grand opening. Now, the point I wanted to make was that some time ago, because I have that under my umbrella portfolio assignments as community infrastructure, we wanted to possibly venture into a business, maybe levying a charge for our water within our community, user fee. When I pointed out at the table, Cheryl pointed out that water is an inherent treaty right, and we should not be doing that. Also, we have a business possibility to supply water to an adjacent community. Now, the question that I have here is, after saying all that, is what does the people here think about all this? Other communities that I know of are supplying adjacent communities. They're actually supplying bottled water as a business. Are we actually benefiting from that as a business and boosting our economy in our First Nations, or are we violating our inherent treaty rights? I'd like to hear some comments and feedback. Miigwech, thank you.
Hi, thank you for that and for being to the point. And I was there too in Red Deer. And it was a very good meeting. I'm going to tell Sharon you changed her name Yeah, Sharon. But anyway, that's a very good point. It makes us think because many years ago when I believe I was on council in Beaver Lake, um, and I came across a study that was done on water by the University of Alberta, and I believe it's still out there somewhere. They did a very comprehensive study on water. And as a matter of fact, what they did is they went across the north and like along the mountains where the headwaters are, and they predicted some of the dams that are in existence today. And it's very ironic. And another thing, and you probably notice if you did any research on water, water is a finite substance. So all the clean water in the world since the beginning of time is already here. There's no more. There will be no more. So the more that we poison and use up, the less it's going to be for the future generations. And that's what the Muniawak are not thinking about. And this comes right out of their own science. And so if you ever have a chance, maybe you can look that up. I couldn't find it. Maybe you're better at finding things than me. But it was about 1972. It was a water study done by University of Alberta. And should be able to find it, hopefully. I asked students from there, and nobody has found it yet, but it's a very good study that was done. So with that, maybe we can wrap this discussion up and go right into agricultural benefits. And then after we're done with presenting that part, then we'll open it up for recommendations, directives from the people here. As Ogumao said, it is a grassroots meeting that we're having here. So Janice, Tantik Tan. Awesome. We'll lead off this discussion on agricultural benefits, cows and plows. And that's on everybody's minds here, I know that. I just want to maybe put out a word of caution to everybody. This government, they're on a very systematic plan that they're doing. Every one of these rights that we enjoy, they're trying to pay us off so that they say, well, you know, I paid you, I'll give you this much money, and now I don't have to worry about that promise anymore. They're trying to do that. Even with the water, but that one is individuals, and it's not a collective, so thank you. Janice?
I'm not going to be doing a presentation on the agricultural benefits or what most people know it to be as cows and plows. We've invited Rachel Snow from Morley to Treaty 7 in Morley to come and do a presentation and to share some information around that because she went on a tour, I want to say, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, I think in the spring. She'll probably explain more. And so she heard directly from people in the community that had concerns around that. And she's also trained as a lawyer. So not only is she a grassroots person, she's trained as a lawyer to be able to understand, research, and analyze the problems, the issues surrounding some of these things. So I'm just going to ask Rachel to come up now, and she can introduce herself in her language and however she does that. And she'll provide us an overview and analysis of some of the things that she's researched, reviewed, and what people have shared with her in the work that she was doing to inform and educate the masses of people about how the cows and plows are problematic and jeopardize and our treaty rights.
Thank you. And before I turn it over to Rachel, everybody, it's about 11 o'clock right now. So about 10 minutes to 12, we'll have a hard stop because the elders have to put down the pipes. So just reminding everybody, go ahead, you can use that one. Turn it on.
Tagunchawa ni tachastabi. Muia imach minithni imagdanch. I'm from Morley, Alberta. We just changed the name of our, I guess what the town site was called Morley. We just changed it back to the original name, which is Minithni. So how you say nipi, we say mini. Mini is water, and Minithni means cold water. That's the area where we come from. I just wanted to add to that on a little bit about the water. Before Alberta was kind of made, the Bow River runs through Morley Reserve. So on either side, the north side or the south side, the Iahe Nakota, the Stoney people, we live on either side of the river. So at that time, the federal government said, we have a riparian right, that's their common law right to the water. And then what they did was they put it into a statute for us. They put it into CB Dam, Kananaskis Dam, and Ghost River Dam, so that the Stonies have a statutory right to water in our area. I've mentioned this before at different talks on water. Why aren't other First Nations, why don't they have the statutory right to water in their area, if that was the intention? This is around 1905 that we have legislation in our area. I just want to mention that because I think it's important every time we talk about different things that are happening with treaty, that we remember, or that we ask each other, that we share our information, that we work together. So I'm happy to be here again. This is, I think, my third or fourth time coming back to the Fort Pitt gathering. I got lost, though, I don't know. I'm a Stony in Cree country. I got lost. I saw Oilers signs and I avoided them. So that's how I got lost. There was no Flames directions. Everybody usually boos me then. I'm out of here. Yeah. I want to say hi to all the kids. I'm glad you're here. The things that we're talking about are going to be the things that you're going to be talking about in 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And like similar to Ron, I've been working with treaty issues or on First Nations, trying to help our people since I was young, since my late dad used to take me around to different meetings like this. I used to travel with my parents, listen to elders, listen to them talk about treaty, go to ceremonies, go to different kinds of meetings or venues. The last time Queen Elizabeth was in Calgary, I think it was maybe 1972, but she was in, she came and, like you said, this elder from Alexander, there were teepees all over, and each of the Treaty 7 nations was there in our regalia or representing our tribe. I know because there's a really bad picture of me with a headband on from the 70s. It's in the back of my dad's book, don't look for it. And then later on, along with Sharon Venn, there were contingency of Alberta chiefs who went to go lobby Queen Elizabeth. Sharon Venn at that time was a young lawyer, and she traveled with this group of Alberta chiefs, I remember, I think the Grand Chief of Treaty 6 at that time was Eugene Steiner, late Eugene Steiner, and late Frank Helcrow from Treaty 8, and my late dad, the Reverend Dr. John Snow from Morley, Alberta. They went to go lobby the Queen, and they got Prince Charles here for the 1977 reenactment of our treaty. Treaty number 7, signed in 1877. We did the reenactment in 1977 at Blackfoot Crossing. And we have a similar story too, that the Stonies stayed on the hill. They didn't come down to the main camp where the treaty commissioner was, because we were the enemy of the Blackfoot, still are. We were the enemy of the Blackfoot, but we were the allies of the Cree. But we didn't come down to the main camp because we went through pipe ceremonies. We went through 9 days of pipe ceremonies before we came down to have the treaty discussions. So it's always good when I come here and there's elders, there's children, treaty discussions. In my own family, we have a story with my daughter-in-law that her grandpa, Tatanga Money, he was a child and he rode with his grandmother to the treaty gathering. And when he was a child and he went there, and I said, so at the treaty gatherings, when you see pictures, it always shows warriors and like the white people standing there, the RCMP. There were women there, there were children there, because it was the community, it was the people who were signing that treaty. So when we talk about, it's all important, because when we talk about treaty, we're talking about what our ancestors agreed, how they wanted to share the land. And the land includes the resources and the water. So today, what the Canadian government is looking at in the agriculture on paper, treaties 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to treaty 11, they had a piece of paper that's treaty, and we our bundles, we have all those things that are what holds treaty for us. And we never talk about this part when we're talking about treaty. Even now, when I went out on this, like a treaty tour, we went around to go advise people what was happening with that, what that cows and plows meant. And on this side, the cows and plows means, it says, if you read the treaty, it says the land or this much area per house per person, 5 acres for a family of 5, goes on, says one cow, 1 plow, 1 harrow, goes on, schoolhouse, medicine chest. It's written like this in English, that's what the treaty says. But the part that we're not talking about is this part, is the part that our ancestors, that our oral stories tell us are part of the treaty. That's the negotiation. The negotiation is on this side, because everybody's looking at this just saying, oh, cows and plows means this, agriculture rights. It also means this, what is not in the treaty. And that's the part we're not talking about. So when we went around to the treaty gathering, and we went from starting in White Bear, and when we got there, we were going to try to put everything on the internet. People want to see it on TikTok. They want to see it on Facebook, and they want to see what's happening. But when we got to the place where we were, there was no Wi-Fi, and the pipe carriers were there. So then we just we couldn't tape it or broadcast. We then just had to sit with the pipe holders and do the prayers and do the protocol. And that was better. To me, that's the right way to start a treaty tour, a treaty talk, a treaty gathering. We shouldn't be concerned about putting things, streaming things. I really don't like to put things on, to be live on Facebook or live on, or put things on TikTok or however or YouTube, because when we went around as young children, you have to go to the place. You have to go see that elder. You have to go back. There's power. There's energy. There's the spirits of our ancestors in the place like there is here. You have to go, you have to make the time to go to that place, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how our people learned. We didn't learn, we didn't have Google 100 years ago. We didn't have YouTube just to watch videos on pipe ceremonies and things 100 years ago. You have to go. You have to go you have to go to those places in order to understand. So that's part of the problem we're having right now, or part of the problem I realized when I was on that treaty tour, is that our people have forgotten how to take the time to go, or take the time to understand, take the time to listen, take the time to pray, and actually participate or learn like how we used to learn, just by sitting or by AJ. All right, I know it's you. So we took the time. We took the time to learn from the elders, or from the knowledge keepers who are instructing. Even at our ceremonies, where I see these things come out, body shape, Muniao way of thinking, colonization. That's that way of thinking. We don't think like that. When an elderly person, a woman, do it, you listen. You don't go around and say, I have human rights, and start to get mad. Your game in a room. You have to do what you're told. That's how we learn. That's our way, because we're the first people, we're the only people on this island given this, and we're given responsibilities. We're not Muniao. We're not rappers you see on TV. That's not who we are. Who we are has always been here in this land. We're part of this land. So that's what we have to remember when we're talking about these trees. Cows and plows. What the cows and plows says, so it started in Treaty 8. Treaty 8 really didn't have a lot of agriculture land. They didn't really use their agriculture benefits, so they decided to negotiate. They decided to sell their agriculture benefits, sell their cows and plows back to the government. And the government was happy to do this. Federal government wanted to do this, because they're taking that treaty right away from a treaty area. And they got, I think what the specific claims legislation says is that 150 million is the most you can get for cows and plows. That's the maximum you can get for cows and plows. So everybody is selling their agriculture rights for $150 million. And even when we were in Saskatchewan, I was talking to some of the people there in Saskatchewan, and they were saying that, you know, where they live, in the area where they live is the wheat belt, or there's a lot of agriculture development. Billions have been taken out of that. The kinds of tractors that the white farmers have, it's billions, trillions of dollars that have been taken out. It's not 150 million that was taken. So why are we settling for $150 million? That was one of the things, the only way I could, first of all, we shouldn't be selling any part of the treaty. That's it. Nothing should be sold from the treaty, because we're breaking it. But if you're talking about something that's fair from the federal government, and I said this before, I said I'm not against the people getting some kind of dollars back, but they should be getting that every year. That's the way the treaty goes, into perpetuity, forever. As long as we're partners with one another, we have to have something. That's how we have to be negotiating, is that we're gonna not take this 150 million that you're telling us, and that's the end of that. That's, you know, how worse can we sell out our children? Because when they come up and, you know, the 30,000 people are getting 40,000, 10,000, whatever people are getting now, our children are not gonna have that. Unless the trust that's given to the chief and council is invested for the children. And the children can't even, when they become adults, they have nobody to turn to. They can't turn to the federal government, because it says that in the agreement. You can't sue Canada, you can't sue the trust holders, you can't sue chief and council, and you can't sue even the banks or the lawyers. You can't sue anybody. Like, if you take this, you don't like the deal, too bad. That's the kind of deal that Canada is making with our people. And that's not the way we should be negotiating with our treaty partner. Our treaty partner should fully understand that they have benefited from all the land and all the space, all the place. Everything that they have is because of us. and they have to share that with us. And if that means they have to pay, that means they have to pay. That's what I'm trying to say is not that it's a terrible thing, but if we're going to talk about getting some kind of a payment for the agriculture or the benefit or that annuity, then it should be going on eternally like the treaty goes on, and it should be in an amount that benefits all the people the way that it was supposed to be. Now, when you talk to the white lawyers, because I've been at Cows and Plows meetings, and when I come there, the white lawyers take off, but I'm still going to those meetings. What the white lawyers say is in this part of the treaty, in the white man written part of the treaty, it says, for once and for all. So then they come and they tell our people, you got to take this because it says for once and for all. And I said, well, if it's for once and for all, that means in 1877, when we signed treaty in Treaty 7, the Indian agent brought cattle, bull, harrow, spade, that kind of stuff, once for all of us, and that was done. But he didn't do that. As we went on this treaty tour, we talked to people in different First Nations. One person I talked to from the north of Saskatchewan said that one year the treaty agent came, he brought some cows and he brought a bull, and the bull wouldn't mate with the cows. So he had to take the bull back. And then he said, you know how bulls are. Then he didn't come back for the next year, but he came back 4 years later and he brought another bull. That tells me that the Indian agent came back more than once. And even in our community, in Stoney, we have 3 bands there. We have Bear Spa, Chiniki, Good Stoney. And even I know a story from that was told to me by my dad and my grandfather, that back in the 1940s, the Indian agent came from Calgary. He brought horses, or he brought cattle, and he brought those tools, implements like a hoe, seed. He brought that stuff too. But he stopped at Sybil Flats, which is just before Morley. It's before the big hill that comes into Morley, my reserve. They brought that stuff there, and those devious Chiniki, they're Stony, but they came to that place first, like the day before, and then when the Indian agent got to Main Morley, where he's supposed to give out all the cattle and the hoes and everything, he didn't have anything. So the next year, when the Indian agent came, all 3 bands of the Stonies sent people to Sybil Flats, so that they all got something instead of the Indian agent coming empty-handed. They all went to the same place so that they could all get the disbursement of whatever agriculture, so that the stuff that he was bringing could be given away to everybody. So that means, when the lawyers say that to us, it's for once and for all. That's what it means. That's what it means in English. That's what it means in the way the white paper of the way the black letter of the law is written. That's what the white lawyers are telling our people. But we have all the stories on this side. We have the knowledge keepers, our elders. We have the language on this side saying, no, this is what happened. That's the negotiation, or that's the argument that has to be used. But a lot of these white lawyers, they're making a lot of money. Like from the 150 million, the lawyers are making, I don't know, 10%, something, 20%, 8 million, 10 million. I've heard all kinds of figures. They're taking that money for telling us to sell out and take a one-time pay. And they're saying, oh, you don't lose your treaty rights. Well, that's kind of right. What I said earlier, we have a right to 1 square mile. You have a right to ammunition and twine. You have a right to schoolhouse on reserve. You have a right to medicine chest. That's all still in the treaty. So they're saying you don't lose your treaty rights, but they're not saying you don't lose your agriculture benefits in the treaty rights, which is what you're losing, which is what you're selling out. So we've been going around trying to convince people to say no to taking this money, say no to breaking that part of the treaty. And we're not having we didn't have very good effect, or we're not having a good effect, because people are still signing over and still waiting for their cows and plows money and still talking about cows and plows money. And when they get that cows and plows money, that 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is If you even just buy a car, you can't even buy a really fancy car like like a Sahara Jeep or something like that, the Wrangler. Those things are 100,000. You can't even buy that with cows and plows money. Like, that's what people are doing though, is when they get the money, what do we do when we get the money? What do we do? Do we turn around and invest in our First Nation bank or put it into a playground lunch program for our children in our community? Nobody's doing that. They're going on vehicles, they're getting clothes. Walmart has probably had a good year in the last years. Liquor stores too, I don't want to say that, but it's true. So that where you us, it's just getting back into the Canadian economy. It's just going back to paying for these people who are inherently racist to us, who give us a hard time when we go into stores, who treat us badly at gas stations, restaurants, everywhere. That's where the money is going back to. So why should we agree to take nothing, and then once we get that nothing, we turn around and we give it right back to them, and we're thankful to them for giving us nothing. I don't think our ancestors, I was talking about that at a meeting, saying I don't think Sitting Bull, Poundmaker, Crazy Horse, the leaders that we had from long ago, Big Bear, I don't think that they were trying to negotiate, or I don't think that they were thinking that we would get just one time of a payment of something, and then then the reserve would be gone, our rights would be gone, we'd have nothing after that. I don't think any of our ancestors thought that. They thought they were negotiating, they thought they were making a deal, they're gonna be partners with these newcomers, with the Wasiju, with the Muniao. They're gonna be partners with these people. We're gonna share things with them so that they have something and we always have something. That's treaty, is to share. That's the understanding we have. But we're trying to convince the non-natives, we're trying to convince the white people that they're supposed to be sharing what they have. They've never shared, the agriculture things that they make, or the millions they've taken out of like Saskatchewan. And not only are they taking millions in wheat or whatever they're growing, they also moved our people. If our people had traditional land in a really good area, high agriculture area where they produced well, the government moved them because they wanted to open that land to settlers, to pioneers, to other people, so that they could make that money. All those things, like when you think like a Muniao white lawyer, it's a harm, it's a wrong, it's a tort, it's something that they've done wrong that they have to pay for. But when you take this 150 million and you sign off on it, that means you've signed off on any other thing that's involved in that. If you were moved and your agriculture land was taken, you had prime agriculture land, like I think it was Thunderchild and Moosomin were, some people were moved in Saskatchewan, even in the Treaty 4 area. They took away the land from Ocean Man and from Pheasant's Rump, Oceamana I think it is, but Ocean Man it's called, and Pheasant's Rump, and they put those Nakota and Soto right into White Bear, and they had one reserve because they wanted that land. They took those reserves away then, back in, just shortly after they signed Treaty Number 4. They've been consistently doing this. The federal government, the white people have consistently been taking. They take from us, and then they try to give us back something that's less. They take millions and they try to give us back $10,000 and say, there, we've compensated you, we've given you something, we gave you something, but they're not giving back what is owed. With our own money, exactly. It's our own money that, it's from our resources that they're living, that they have a way of life, that they have their suburbs, they have their fancy schools. They don't have to worry about school fees or hockey. We had to pay hockey. I can't believe how much we have to pay for hockey fees. They don't have to worry about those kinds of things because they're living and making money off of our land and in our areas, and we're not, and we're the poorest. We're the most poverty-stricken people in our nations. The other thing about the cows and plows that was kind of negative was that once people got the money, there was an increase in their communities. in deaths. There's an increase in overdoses. It really escalated if people had liver or cirrhosis or diabetes and were drinking. We have had more deaths of elders and of middle-aged young people. So that money coming in, if people are, you know, just partying or drinking or just spending however they're spending, it may not necessarily be a good thing either. So all of those concerns, we heard a lot of different stories, and we heard a lot of cautions from or people telling us that they're afraid if that money comes to them, if that money comes to their community. And then we also heard that, you know, some people saying that who think with a munia head and think of economic development, like I was watching one of the chiefs, 30,000. If you went to Elon Musk with $30,000, he's going to laugh at you. I think 200 grand. You can't, like, their way of investing and their way of having money is different from our way of having money. And when I was going around on this treaty tour, I told them that ourselves, similar to Onion Lake, we had oil and gas in Minithni and Morley. We put up a heritage trust fund, 250 million. That was our own trust fund that we put together, 250 million. And everybody right now is settling for 150 million. That's 100 million less than what we ourselves. And every year that we had that trust fund, and we had it for economic development, every year if we wanted to build a new school, if we wanted new playground equipment, lunches for the kids, school lunch, hot lunch, breakfast for the kids, and we ask Indian Affairs, well, you have the schoolhouse clause, that's education, we want that. They would tell us, look at your trust fund. You have 250 million there, use that. They wanted us to use that money. Even if we are successful or we put aside money and say we have this money for our own reserve or for our development, the government will get you then, because they'll start cutting back on your program money. They'll start cutting back on your housing dollars, your infrastructure, your sewer, whatever. They will start cutting, saying you got some money there, so you use that money. So it's a very dangerous position for us to go into. Once you start going down that path of taking money for a treaty promise, then we're breaking the treaty. And once we start breaking the treaty, then what's going to be left for our children? And what the discussion has been is that Canada, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, in 1969 in the 1969 white paper, he wanted to break the treaties. He wanted our Indian people to be regular Canadian citizens. He wanted us just to be like everybody else. And it was Alberta chiefs from across Canada that went over and lobbied Trudeau the elder, or late Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and said, no, we're not going to take your white paper, we're not going to take your legislation. They fought back with the red paper. And from that came the National Indian Brotherhood that becomes AFN. From that came all the funding for our tribal councils. There's a lot of history that we're not teaching to our children so that they know where their rights come from or how hard our people have been fighting for years to try to make sure that our people still have something. People come into positions of leadership or positions in the heads of tribal councils or something, and they think they're arguing at that level. If you're going to fight at that level, then you have to know also what has already happened, what has also been done. There's been a lot of work at the international level too. I know Ron Lehman, Sharon Venn, there are people who've been fighting at the international level to get the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People here. They fought to have something more for our people here so that we could kind of force Canada to honor our treaties. And instead, what did Canada do? They got a bunch of First Nation lawyers that live off reserve or have swimming pools in Toronto. I don't know where these people are. They all agreed to that to Canada's definition of how UNDRIP works in Canada. So then they made it less again instead of negotiating hard for us, because why would they negotiate hard for us? They live in urban areas, and they have no ties to their community. They have no spiritual ties. They don't go to sundances. They don't go to sweats. They don't speak the language. They're just advisors in Canada, like Mary Ellen Turpel. They're people who just go along with what now the younger Trudeau is saying. So there's lots of fights that we have on different levels, but in order to fight those fights, you have to be aware of what has happened in history, what is happening now, and go with like how we try to do things. Like I graduated from the College of Law, University of Saskatchewan. I won't practice in the Muniao, the white man legal system, because then I have to swear an oath to the Queen, now to the King. And if I swear an oath to the King, then the person I report to are my peers. Other lawyers, they're my boss, not my people, not Creator. So I can't do it because my understanding of who I am, the reason I'm here is to help my people. And to help my people, I can't have a different, I can't swear allegiance to a white group of lawyers or people who are going to tell me how I can think or what I can do. I can't do it. I don't know why more of our people are going into that system and thinking that they can make a change. There's no change in that system. It's only ever going to bring us more hurt, harm. Well, you know, even in the criminal justice system, the missing and murdered women, there's so many things that are happening right now that the Canadian justice system, lawyers, white government, they're not helping us. They would rather see our people die off or assimilate, and they don't want to have any more problems with us. But with the cows and plows, again, it's gonna break a part of the treaty, and that part of the treaty also could be like the economic development part, because when Treaty 4 got their agriculture, when they got their agriculture implements, they started making gardens, they started working together, harvesting together. They took their crops to, wanted to take their crops and go sell them, and the Indian agents stopped them. All the white people around them, all the white farms had to go first. Then the Indians got to go. So our crops went bad, or else we got the lowest prices. Every single time the government has done something to stop us, to hurt us, so that we won't be paid the same, so that we'll be paid less, so that we have no success. When you see that, when you realize that, it becomes all our fight. We're all fighting the same fight. We're all in this together if we want to preserve who we are as the first peoples, the original people. So just quickly in closing, like the deals that are happening now in the specific claims policy, also I see there's a specific claims policy. They're looking at changing that policy, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to make, instead of saying that they have 150 million to negotiate specific claims, I think what they're going to say is they have less, maybe 100 million, so that if you don't take the cows and plows now, they're going to say, well, there's only 100 million now. That's okay. Maybe there's only 50 million, 25 million. Don't panic. Don't get worried, because our kids are coming. Our grandchildren are coming, and they're going to be the ones who are going to be fighting, and they're going to be the ones who are going to be educated enough and articulate enough to argue for trillions. So I don't worry about when I hear them saying, well, if we don't get this, they're going to close the door on us. Yeah, that's fine if they close the door, because I don't want 30,000. That's nothing. But if my children can argue for 30,000 a year, if my grandchildren get that 20, 50, 100 years from now, I'd rather have that, because that means my people went on. We have to think like that. If I'm thinking about myself and I'm greedy and I want that 30, I don't even have a ride. I came here on a buck through the whole of Lloyd to get over here. But I could use it too. I know we could. But at the same time, the things that I think about the future generations, what are they going to have? We're talking about the water and the things that are poisoning and hurting the land and the water. We have to leave something for our children, and not holding up the treaty. I also wanted to mention, when we were doing that treaty talk, when they talked about the spirit and intent of the treaties, they talked about that the sun will always shine, the grass will always grow, and the rivers will always flow. We were told this at the first meeting we went to when we had a pipe ceremony when we started this treaty tour. What that means, that the waters will always flow, means giving birth. It means a woman giving birth, that we will always have children, babies, young people, elders who become elders. We will always have people coming into our communities. We'll always be alive in this part of the world because this is where we were placed. That's what the water's flow means. It doesn't mean the actual water like a resource water like people think. It means the birth of our children. It means the waters that break for a woman when she's giving life. So I just want to mention that and make sure that talk to the kids. Hope you learned something today, and take questions, or if anybody wants to, I always put that, or people always put that on Facebook. If anybody wants to fight me, I'm over here. Thank you.
Hi. He's Nish. Miasen. So we're going to open up the floor for a few minutes here, but before I do that, I'm going to turn it over to the Director of Treaty Governance. He wants to call some people up and make presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a lengthy 2 days discussing issues that we face as First Nations people today, and it's been overwhelming. I know I've been, past few years, I've been learning and trying to gain more knowledge in regards to our treaty and inherent rights. I went to a lot of meetings over the past, and I'm still learning, but we continue to do what's good for our people in our nation. In the office of the Treaty Governance here in Onion Lake Cree Nation, Nistane Agamemoa, Kweski Wegamiotos Katama, Mstahem Xigwan Toskewin, Maga Keteg Manga Petagok, Keteg Manga Pepixquit, Oganigman Totuananak, Ogamaganak, Niganiok, Wistamin Agamemotik, Kweski Wegamiosi Tigia, Kagamemo Taya, Ntaski Nan Kweskatos Katama. Ego tamana kan tamago ga sino ka pixquetic. We are stay stotamok ega gaskita ka pixquatak mangi ga pixquata go tuma. Wa we suguma stay ga magoi momme ga tuma atoske when exuga kaitutama maganis nan go seguaga memoa. I know sometimes when we talk our language, I like to acknowledge all the Cree speaking people that are here and the elders to learn and understand what I just said. But there's a lot of young people here. And I acknowledge all the elders because with their teachings and their testaments in the past and present, we continue to fight a good fight in giving a stronghold with our treaty and inherent rights, and going on to the future to try and do the best work we can in our office. So we're always honored for people coming here to listen in, and we try to work together as nations, like not just Onion Lake. I know we were one of the front runners in working towards treaty issues, and we try and educate as many people as we can in our nation, and also we try to help and assist other nations as well into promoting and creating awareness to where we're at and what we're doing as nation to nation, building stronger relationships within each other. Because when we signed treaties, it was a nation to nation model molding us as a nation to the crown. And when you talk about that's a strong solitude of treaties. AFN or FSIN did not sign treaty on behalf of our nation. So all the nations that are here, you have to remember that. That's one of the main things that we have to maintain. It was a nation to nation building, and we need to keep promoting, continuing to work for our nations. So with that, I thank you all. And I got some gifts here for some of the presenters that are here today. Rachel Snow, thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. Let's give her a round of applause. Hi, hi. Also calling Eric Tatusis, if you're around, Astam. Come on down over here, Eric, unless you're sleeping in your vehicle. AJ, Astam. AJ Felix. You know, he always, let's applause. He's got a good story, actually, AJ. Him and Ron were talking about that a few years ago. AJ, why he was called AJ? He was born 15 minutes before Christmas, so AJ stands for Almost Jesus. That's story. Thank you, AJ. Let's give him a round of applause. Eric, oh, there's Eric. There's the man. You know, Eric's a well-known MC and everything else. Let's give him a round of applause. Hi, Eric. Thank you for coming, sharing your stories and your wisdom. So with that, I'll hand back the mic to Ron. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for the acknowledgements. And like I said, we're opening the floor up, and just want to make an announcement while we're thinking of what we're going to say. On the 30th of September, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And in the spirit of reconciliation, September 30th, 1 p.m., Silver Teepee inside the daycare. This is in Onion Lake. Unveiling a monument for the community, giving remembrance for the survivors of residential school. Lunch to follow. So you're welcome. You're being invited to come and share with Onion Lake on their event. I set a hard stop, so we have about 10 minutes. Apologize, we know it's not a lot of time, but any more recommendations? Let's maybe concentrate on giving a directive to our leaders for the work that needs to be done in the short term, maybe also in the medium term and long term, because we have to start planning in earnest for 2026. And same time too, 2027 over here, our relatives from Alexander, Puhtagak, the 150 years will be in 2027 at Fort Edmonton. But we have one up on everybody because we already have the monument there. So, but we're going to be working on putting the monument somewhere here, and the elders will decide that, and also in Fort Carlton. So just keep that in mind. And Janice had to leave. She apologizes, but some of the directives that she's going to be responsible for, she'll be doing, like getting in place the committee, very, very important. And I believe she's the one that's planning or helping to plan the CHOGM meeting in Samoa. So those leaders that are going to be able to make it, looking over at Chief Bear, shirt and shorts, and very warm country over there, very beautiful. Samoa in the South Pacific. So the floor is open for the next few minutes, and I just want to maybe give a time for Ogimau to make closing comments after, because they have to go over there and put the pipes down. Is there going to be lunch? Yeah, there's going to be lunch. And then there's going to be lunch, and that's how we're going to complete our meeting in a good way. So, oyak, kigwe, we mamskotam. We have the mic. You have it over there? Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. I am Bernadine Harper, Netsiga, so no Tautinista Onion Lake. Nigana Hanote na Nas Kumuan, Omigo gab me seats ago, get treaty governance gab me to gemotic. Miasin get there, get tihi took me nagagi Simon. We are Gaya six, Egis Wascoito Tagik, get there, XP, when they entered into treaties with the crown. Egigagi Sumutik. Those are the oral teachings, the oral stories that I remember. Maga ngagayasi munusam uskaya go utoks na maga nagaya tigego mista himina mo instuta makni hiyawe when we agats kagi instuta mi ni hiyawe when ego iskisto no kagi migusia kapikskwa. I want to say thank you to the organizers for organizing this treaty gathering. My name is Bernadine Harper. I'm from Onion Lake, and I just wanted to share some information that I know from way back when our elders, our leaders back in the day, when they entered into treaty with the crown. They didn't just enter into treaty like right away. They had days of ceremonies and days of talking and negotiating. And when they entered into treaty, the elders say they entered into treaty. So very important thing that I learned is that we have to be very careful when we talk about treaties because terminology is very important. Even saying one wrong word, it can mislead a conversation, especially in the English language. In our Cree language, when we say something and you translate it into English, it could mean a whole different thing. So when we talk about oral history, our elders back then were very intelligent, they were very smart. They were able to see the future. They had those natural gifts given to them to be able to see and understand. Today, we have to hang on to those teachings. Those teachings that our elders had back in the day, they shared all that information. They had students, they called them students, where they passed on all this information, all the knowledge. We have those people with us today. And my recommendation today is that, as knowledge keepers, the people that know all the information about treaties, about the oral teaching, we should have all these people go straight across from and share all that information because we are at that point where we are really very, very sensitive position with the government. No matter what we do and how we do, it seems like we're standing up against a wall here. It seems like our messages are not going through and we are not being heard. So we need to stand our ground, get our elders to do ceremonies, share the information to the young ones here. I'm so happy to see students here, the young kids that need to learn and understand. Yesterday we had students from Saka schools and we had visiting students as well. But I would recommend that we should have Treaty 101 right across in all the schools, right across Treaty 1 to 11, starting with the schools and that also at the community level because a lot of our people, I know they don't understand treaties. A lot of our own community people don't really understand treaties. So if we could have that done, I would appreciate that. I know that I've shared several times information that I listened to on YouTube and I know it was talked about yesterday and this morning too. One of our elders who have passed away, Elder Jim Canapotato, he traveled, right across the country sharing information, oral teachings of what he learned from his parents, from his grandparents regarding the treaties. And he had students work with him. He had two people that traveled along with him, and these two people recorded everything. They were handwritten, they were recorded. So I'm sure that information is kept somewhere. Maybe it's archived somewhere, and maybe you have those people or ask those people that worked with him to come and share all that information with, with our people, because sharing that information is power. Knowledge is power, and we need to get to that part. So that is my recommendation. If we could, have our people, our knowledge keepers, to share all that information to the ones that are needing to know that we need to unite and we need to work together, because we're not just up against Onion. This is not just Onion Lake. This is Treaty 1 to 11 that we need to unite and work together as one team, one nation. Hi, hi.
Hi, thank you very much. And I was just talking to the director here, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a working lunch. So when the lunch gets here, we're going to allow people to, we'll have somebody pray, we'll get lunch, bring it back, and then we're going to close in that way. We'll have the Ogama say closing remarks. There's a couple of more recommendations people want to make, but I set up at 10:02, so it's 10:02 now. The elders are going to go put the now, so we're going to break just for a few minutes. Uh-huh. So
Yo, yo, jump on over here. Yeah.
So, folks, if I can just have your attention just for a little while, if you can keep your conversations down a little bit. They're having the ceremony over there. They're going to put down the pipes. So it won't take long. Hi.
Okay. Davies. How are you, bro?
I'm okay. There's no
There's information up here. You can come and
Yeah, I'm
help
okay.
yourselves. Couple of compliments.
All right, guys. Yeah. I think me and Davis will try and fill up some space here while they're doing the pipe ceremony or the completion of it. Not too sure what the rest of the day looks like. I think the MC there, Ron, said they're gonna work through lunch,
Yep.
so they'll be coming back. So anyway, what do you think about all this so far, Davis? Is this the first time you've been to one of these, or?
Yep. my, my mind went blank. All I came out was yep. No, I didn't know you could sleep here. It's pretty cool. Other than that, I'm learning a lot as I go. Um, Also, it's kind of trippy being over here because it is kind of crazy history over here. And I wonder if like sometimes like if you can hear somebody or like, um if you can hear some ghosts or whatever. I don't know, something cool like that over here.
I think they were talking about that this morning
Mm.
a little bit. So for the viewers, yeah, we've been set up here past couple days and listening, and we are at Fort Pitt. Behind us over here, is the river, and it goes, if you could see, but it goes south and then back to the west, and it is the North Saskatchewan River. For the ones that don't know, when you go downstream, so when you go east from here, it takes you to Fort Carlton, and then the North and the South Saskatchewan River, they meet up in that area around Prince Albert. And when the treaties were signed, I think that was one of the main forms of transportation was the steamboats and the rivers. Um, and so, you could imagine 1867, when the treaties were being arranged and all of that, they came up through the river system. They went to Fort Carlton, and then they came to Fort Pitt, and then they went further upstream to Edmonton, Enoch. There was a fort over there. Um, so adhesion. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me, I think that was yesterday. One of the MCs there, Ron or AJ, was talking about um, the treaties when they were being entered into and negotiated. Um, they started in Fort Carlton, and then they came to Fort Pitt, and then the adhesion signing onto that original Treaty 6 happened further upstream after they kind of left from here and went further up.
Mm.
So to me, that's a really important lesson, because I do know that Fort Carlton was the original, like the first kind of spot where Treaty 6 was being entered into. And then they came upstream this way, and I wasn't sure how that worked or how that looked, but yeah, according to the old guys yesterday, they kind of told us that it was Fort Carlton and Fort Pitt where the treaties were made and finalized. There was a lot of discussion, um, and you guys could catch it all on the feed. Um, I think another thing that stood out for me was um, like how back in those days, and the terms that were negotiated, and like the vision of our ancestors from that time to now and for the rest of the future. They included education, like the schoolhouse. Back in the language in those days, the schoolhouse, the medicine chest, and the other points that Rachel was touching on, the way it could be interpreted to today's language. So education, healthcare, and how that's all relevant. And then they spoke about the agricultural benefits. um, Yeah, there's a lot there, and it's touchy and it's sensitive, you know,
Yeah.
and it's hard to make an opinion on that without being under attack or being attacked for saying we shouldn't get cows and plows, we shouldn't, you know.
Hmm. No, it went really quiet in there. It was very quiet. Just from sitting here, all I could hear was the wind and the speaker.
Yeah. And you know, for something like that, like I think it is appropriate for the older people, the elders and the knowledge keepers to have those discussions.
Yep.
But at the same time too, like financially, you know, we're all feeling the pressure of the cost of living.
Hmm. Of course, yeah.
And at the same time, it's like how do we balance that? But I think the important thing and the bottom line is, you know, our kids and our grandkids and our unborn, we got to think about them the same way our ancestors thought about us,
Yeah.
despite the challenges that we're facing, you know.
As for me, I don't know. That would be really good to have like the same thing over years, you know. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, like what she was saying, right? For perpetuity,
Mm. Yep.
like not a one-time buyout, but a continuous agreement.
Hmm.
Just for the viewers out there, we did get a lot of visitors here where we're set up, and we got a lot of good comments and a lot of good compliments. You know, they were really appreciative of this service. Not only here with the treaty thing, but like kind of the different areas that we're trying to get into with live streaming and podcasting. So that was really nice to hear, you know, for me because a lot of times you don't know um, if what you're doing is good or bad, or if it's you know being offensive or being appreciated. If you're stepping on toes and it's not something you're trying to do.
Hmm. Um, for me though, I think like it's a it's a good service to have, especially if you couldn't make it here. You can at least watch it somewhere. Like say you're at work or doing something else, and you couldn't make it, watch it. That's that's where I come from. That's
Yeah.
my opinion.
And there was a mention here earlier from Rachel. She was mentioning Facebook and YouTube and live streaming, you know, at events such as this or gatherings such as this. And like for me personally, like I am aware of that sensitivity,
Yep.
and it's not something that you know like I don't want to feel like I'm intruding or offending anybody.
Yep.
Um, but I think the good thing was like we were asked to do this. We were invited, so it wasn't us just coming to come and set up.
Yep.
It was something that the planning committee wanted, and you know, like it's a service that they tapped into for the community. So
Hmm.
I didn't feel too bad about it. But deep down, I am aware, or I do feel like when it comes to treaty stuff, like I would rather not unless we're invited. Like in Cold Lake a couple of weeks ago, like yeah, we could have went and set up there, but again, like we weren't formally invited, so to me it was like I'd rather not unless somebody's asking for it.
Yep.
Another good point about that though is Bernadine that we just heard speaking. um, she spoke of one of our elders and knowledge keepers, um, like few decades ago, Mr. late Jim Canna Potato.
Mm.
And one thing that I like that she said is that him being an elder and a knowledge keeper, he used to go around talking about this stuff, educating and informing people about the treaties and our identity. And she said that they used to record. So if they were doing it then and someone that prestigious, then I think we're not really doing so bad, stepping out of bounds.
This would be also good to archive, as she said, just to archive everything. As for live streaming, that is kind of like it is kind of touchy on some subjects, but I feel like it's a good service to have. But I feel like if we're gonna archive in the days coming, we can at least just record it and not live stream it.
Yeah. Yeah. At the same time too, like it is important to do this and to offer this because now um like you're educating the the community or the people, the general public, on our understanding of the treaties and through oral history, um, and keeping the spirit and intent alive, um, I think a lot of information, like the oral history part, is really important. um, but we, I think naturally, like we could forget. So having something like this, especially with the elders and knowledge keepers, I think is really important to capture that and to share that.
Yeah, I can see us like having a really big maybe a room, a listening room, and let's say we want to learn something, and we can only bring one person in there to go listen to, if they wanted to learn something on their own, and then at least there would be something recorded for them to listen to later.
Yeah.
And then I think that would be really nice if they can just like take notes instead of having a copy. It'd be really nice.
Yeah. So what else about the treaty gathering did you gather, or what kind of struck a chord with you just from being here past couple days and listening?
Um,
Like I think another thing that was highlighted is the amount of work.
the amount of work that goes into this thing. Just like a lot of people, and like too. Um, I can see like a lot of people that want to come here and speak on good old treaty gathering over here in Fort Pitt, but I didn't really catch anything that caught my ear because I've always been keeping my ear to the ground. I kind of knew um, about certain topics. But I can't really say anything because I can't, you know, does that speaking on it. I can only say after what I said is my opinion on certain things. And that's another thing too that I didn't know, that if you're like not a, if you don't have that, what is that, a gift, you can't give it, especially with ceremony. I didn't know that for a long time.
What do you mean?
Like, say you're at the ceremony, right, and you're gonna talk about it. Like, I can't really talk about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
That's kind of what I got from here. I'm just really trying to listen to everything, and everything's like, it's all new to me. Yeah, I've never come to these things.
Yeah.
Now I am.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people like that. Like a lot of our people, especially our young people, like our age, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was one of those people for a long time. It wasn't. It wasn't until I started working with the former chief of Onion Lake, kind of took me around with him to these things.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd ever be introduced to it or involved with it. But he did. He did come. Jump on here. Yeah, you know, and I think just naturally that's a part of the process, you know? Like we're young, we're more, our attention and our focus is somewhere else. But I think that's another good thing about doing this is raising that awareness and hopefully intriguing somebody out there enough to be like, hey, you know, I didn't know there was this type of stuff. I want to make an effort to start going and helping out. So I think that's another positive.
Even though it's dirty, but still slamming it.
Yeah, yeah, and to see all these kids here, you know, listening, like I think that's really cool because I think the more we do this have of inspiring minds, especially young minds to wanna circle. And like the ladies and the people sit at the head table, you know, there's a lot of work that's being done, but there's a lot of help needed with a lot of that work that's being done.
Yeah.
So the more people that could be inspired, I think the better, because it helps carry that weight.
Yeah. It's very calming over here, but like, even reading the plaques, it's kind of cool. All the history here.
Yeah. Did you actually read them?
Yeah. Well, nobody was here. I just come over here.
I read them too. And there's one, I don't know which one, but there's plaques over here and a walking trail, and you could see the old forts, the old buildings marked out here. For the ones that haven't been here, and you can walk, and then there's plaques along this whole path with information. And like they were saying, this is an actual protected park where we're at right now. In one of the plaques, it was saying, it was mentioning buffalo. When the treaties were signed, there were buffalo roaming around here, like wild and free. And when you really think about it, like that really wasn't that long ago, you know?
No.
So I think that's a good thing that our history and everything is still pretty fresh with us. It's not something far away. It's like it's right there. It's here with us. So another thing they were mentioning, 150-year commemoration. That'll be in a couple of years in 2026. I think there's gonna be a committee formed, and they're looking for people interested in forming that committee. I think you could contact Kim, Carter, and Janice at Treaty Governance, at our Treaty Governance office, if you want to be a part of that. One of the things me and Davis were discussing on that idea, because they're looking for ideas and they want to start planning, but I think, utilizing the river for the 150th anniversary would be cool, and they'd have some kind of canoeing races or something like that, just in honor of our ancestors back then.
You'll see me on a canoe with a flute. I'll grow out my hair.
Yeah. So I think the elders are still in the teepee right now. So we're kind of just trying to take up some space here. I'm not sure if they'll be coming back. I think they did say they were gonna come back and work through lunch, so they'll be jumping back on the air. So we'll just keep this live feed going. What about everyone out there? What did you guys think? What did you guys gather from this? What stuck out for you? What was important for you? I think the big one is the cows and plows,
Yeah.
I think the spectrum is huge on feelings towards that.
Yeah. Like for me right now, like me and my child, like that money sounds really good, but at the same time, it's like a one-time thing. And I feel like, let's say inflation gets up there, right? When my child is an adult, like, is that gonna be enough? If that ever does happen,
I think realistically, like Rachel Snow talked about, and I think we all know some people where their nation, cashed in on that. That money didn't last very long. Because we're already coming from a position of weakness financially. It wouldn't be hard to expend 30 grand or whatever it is. Even if you spend 10,000 towards a vehicle, you're left with 20, and then you pay your bills and your debt. Could be another 5 or 10. So now you're left with 10. You could try saving it or investing it, or you could buy a quad and whatever else. So already that it's depleted in a couple weeks or less.
in one day.
Yeah. But there's a lot of scenarios and a lot of ways to think about it, and the good thing is it's not up to me or Davis whether we, it's our decision makers. All we could do is discuss it, and that's what everybody's doing anyway. Everyone has their own opinion on it. And like anything else, there's pros and cons. For the viewers out there, there's a book. It's called Res Rules, and it's written by Chief Clarence Louis from Osoyos, and he actually spoke on um, annuity payments. And I kind of remember it's been a while since I last looked at it, and I want to look at it again. But he talks about this, and he talks about fairness to our ancestors and to us in the present and to our unborn in the future when it comes to collecting and dispersing this amount. How are they benefiting or collecting, even though, you know, like for us right now, it's tangible. You could see it, you could feel it, you could use it. But what about our ancestors and our future, our unborn? Like, how are they getting a share of the pie because they're entitled to it too? So there's a lot to think about there, you know, and it's really touchy, and it's, you know, I think the good thing is it's not up to me or you. It's just an opinion.
Yes. It has me thinking a lot.
Jump on. Yeah, it's hopefully Leon jumps on.
Yeah.
Here.
Right here, you can use these. Sit over here.
Yeah.
Stream it.
Aho.
Aho.
Hoka. That's Sigaswin.
Leon Whitstone, Director for Treaty Governance. We take us to Sagaigan.
Yeah, we're live, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing too much. We have a treaty gathering here. Stay mom school Taganan. We're on with today and trying to create that awareness with what's going on with the water legislation, cows and plows. So also with focusing on treaty-based funding to health, and I know they talked about that yesterday. So those are some of the components that we talk about. It's always good to share information, and I know there's a lot of viewers out there that are probably interested in what discussions that are talked about in these treaty meetings. So we try and advocate the best way we can. Like, we got good technicians that work with us to try and promote in protecting our treaty rights. So I guess it's always a good thing to learn and understand where we're at and what's happening in this global area that we live in around Turtle Island in regards to our treaties 1 to 11 and how the infringement Muniaog on what they're doing to us. So I guess the importance is always to create that awareness to promote the information that what's happening here today. So
Yeah, no, I think yeah, just for the viewers out there, Leon, this whole event is organized by Leon and his office and his staff and his crew, the elders and the pipe, the knowledge keepers, and just want to commend you for that, for the good work, you know, raising awareness, even inviting our community members. They would like to be here, and they're not able to make it. So we're able to, you know, share the information with them, the knowledge, and even for like archiving or recording for the young people, like when they want to eventually start learning about this stuff, they could find it on their phone
Yeah.
and start listening and educating themselves about what's going on out there, where we're at with the whole legislation and the impacts of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially with AFN too as well as some resolutions, some omnibus bills that they're trying to pass in regards to Jordan Principle and child welfare, also with education and also with health. So they're trying to establish some kind of monies that are handed down to from the federal government to these organizations. But I've always talked about and promote that like AFN, FSIN, like they didn't sign treaty on behalf of our nations. It was a nation to nation relationship where Onion Lake signed with the Crown. So that's how it should be. We don't need these other entities kind of creating animosity when we're trying to get that direct from the federal government to give us that monies that we need in enhancing because of an increase of population and the growth of our community. So those are things that we try and focus on. And I know we had discussions with Ogimagan and leadership in these issues, and our office is just trying to trying to focus on kind of like a here we need to kind of assist in this area where AFN assembly in Montreal. I think that was a couple of months ago. Where we're over there, they're talking about them, but a group of we went with over there, we squashed that bill. So because we didn't, it wasn't put it to all First Nations. But like I said, it's nation to nation. Like talk about and to try and get direct funding on behalf of all nations when they never actually established or signed treaty on our nation. Onion Lake Cree Nation, Onion Lake Cree signed treaty at the time and with the Crown. So I guess that's always in my mindset in that area where, especially with all this funding that's coming in, these 10-year grants and stuff like that, these 10-year programs that they're developing. It's not in reality. It's not about a treaty relationship. It's there just to try to control that focus on our First Nations people. They want that control in the Crown, the federal government. They want that control to control our people. But we're First Nations. We're first people here. I think now it's time that everybody wakes up and open their eyes. Hey, we need to kind of establish a better standard of living in our communities. And this is probably one of the avenues is creating that treaty-based awareness and that funding agreements.
Yeah. Yeah, even like I know on social media there's a lot of discussions around these types of things, and a lot of our own people are, sharing their own opinions and things like that. And they're entitled to that, but I think we need to be careful on misleading our people. And I think with us here in Onion Lake and the elders and the knowledge keepers, I think we're lucky to have that guidance on what's the next best step to take and to do it carefully and strategically, not to be in a rush for this or that. When you AFN and FSIN, those two entities, they didn't exist at the time of treaty. We didn't have an AFN, we didn't have an FSIN, and the government is really smart about, their termination agenda when it comes to the treaties. and it's something they've always been trying to do. Like there was a mention of the 69 white paper and Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and what they're doing now, like you fast forward to today, is they're using the AFN and FSIN, the regional offices, to, carry out that agenda, with these entities not realizing what they're doing, the position they're putting our people in and our nations when it comes to that termination agenda. um, like they're using these two bodies, like AFN especially, and then the regional offices in the provinces, to offload the treaty responsibilities onto these entities. So now if you have any issues, or you want, you're dealing with COVID or anything like that, poverty, you have to go to these bodies like AFN, and now you're fighting amongst each other. And that's the way they're positioning this whole like termination agenda. They're offloading the money onto these bodies, and they're saying, here, you administer this with your bands. Um, and if there's any issues, they'll deal with it with you guys, and it has nothing, like, you guys can't come to us anymore as the federal government on behalf of the crown. So they're pitting us against each other, and they're making us fight amongst each other, and it's all a part of their plan.
Yeah, that's all part of their plan. Especially when you talk about, even when you talk about cows and plows, look at how much animosity that's creating towards First Nations people, where there's discussions in their nations and their bands, and then taking these agreements and settlements, and it's all about money. So like it seems like the federal government, okay, here's your cows and plows, you guys deal with it, and now it's a money issue where a lot of uh, a lot of First Nations people like never had that amount of money in a lump sum and stuff like that. So I guess it's kind of a, you look at it, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but you look at it like many of our people getting that much money, and it's creating animosity within. It's bad enough like we're struggling with drugs and alcohol. With like we see that, like ectemaxia, and we see that, and we need to like focus on healthier lifestyles and stuff like that. Like it's kind of scary to even think about that. Like reserves like that already took their cows and plows, and now some, like it's wasn't a good thing, for the communities.
And it's hard to see that right now. But you fast forward 10 years or so, I think you'll start realizing, like, kind of the consequences or the results of entering into those agreements.
Like a lot of like places I've been, all cows and plows. Oh, it's not gonna affect our. How did they know? They signed on to it. Like maybe they didn't read the fine print on these documents. That they need to kind of, when they sign these documents, that they need to know inside that document that this shouldn't this shouldn't affect our treaty. You're not prepared for it, and outcome outcome what's the outcome from that? It's going to create a lot of hurt and stuff like that. And when you talk about the future, man, like you probably think, man, we shouldn't have took it. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So I guess you got to be careful, and also making sure in fine print that everything's written accordingly, that doesn't affect your treaty rights, your treaty and inherent rights. So I guess that's a big issue, like a lot of big concerns about that. And I know Rachel Snow talked about that earlier here, about cows and plows and why it's not a good thing. But like I guess it's up to some communities that when they take it. But when it'll come to our nation, I'm not too sure. But eventually, in time, that's a situation that needs to be discussed holistically with the community.
Yeah. 10-year funding agreements. I think Janice or one of the ladies touched on it yesterday. The way Canada is trying to get at our treaties, like another angle that they're attacking is through funding agreements, and they're changing the language in those agreements to reflect that the 10-year agreements. So there was opposition towards the 10-year funding agreements when they were first introduced to First Nations like Onion Lake, I think back in 2018 or 19. The 10-year funding agreement came to our table, and I think we're lucky we have technicians and advisors that told us the trap behind it and the long-term impacts. So what Canada is doing now, because now there was an opposition and Onion Lake, we uh, took our position against that, and we told Canada that this is not something we agree with. We're gonna maintain our current agreement until we get the agreement that we really want, which is our treaty-based funding arrangements.
Yeah.
So what Canada, because of that opposition from Onion Lake, it kind of their response to that was, okay, we're gonna get opposed on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna offer the regular CFAs, which are the funding agreements, but we're gonna change the language in there. We're gonna take these 10-year funding agreement words and put it in these, so that we're kind of hiding away from the 10-year funding agreement title. So now they're changing the wording in these agreements and say, okay, well, here's your agreement.
Yeah.
But really, it's that.
realistic. It's that 10-year agreement. Yeah. So I guess that like with that focal point with the funding agreements and stuff like that, that's something that we still have to negotiate in terms of how we want to profound it with treaty-based funding. Because I know we took that step with health, and Okanagan and a few of the leadership went to Ottawa last week to discuss that with the federal government. So I guess even with that one, we'd have to look at find the fine print of the agreement. Okay, let's see where we're gonna focus on. Are we getting more enhanced dollars to with health and stuff like that, determining outcomes? Because like we get so underfunded. All these years we've been underfunded in each and every program, and now we're increasing in population. So I guess that's a major concern. Like we get a certain amount of dollars from the government, and now our population base is increasing, and that's not enough. So I guess that's one of the things that we look at too is we need to increase population base. We need to kind of look at that in that way to absorb with that treaty-based funding agreement. So it's still a lot of work. It's still ongoing. Negotiations are still there to proceed in that arrangement. And I guess one of the things that we try and like thinking about it too, like just imagine if we had a lot of nations understanding what we're trying to do, and if we had a lot of more nations treaty-based funding approach, that'd probably be definitely with the federal governments seeing all these nations want to come into that treaty-based component, and there are some that are actually sitting down with that interest is there. There's some of them that are actually doing it as well. It's like Satina, and they're pretty good too, like in regards to protecting their treaty rights. So I guess that's what I mean, like building that relationship with all nations across Canada here. I know like the term of modern treaties is also there, like modernized treaties. The outcomes maybe these are 10-year grants and stuff like that. Modernizing treaties in some sort of avenue is what it was one of the discussions too. But we don't need we need to stick to what we signed back in the 1800s and when we signed treaties. Like that's a treaty. It was a friendship treaty where we agreed upon the people agreed like the nations agreed that they would. But now somebody got greedy there. Now the tables turned. You know what I mean? And we to this day we're still controlled. And here we're trying to break away and become self-efficient in any way possible to try and be trying to be like an established nation where hey we need that immaculate increase in funding where we need to be in par on what the government gives to the provinces and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I think another thing too, like with the like the federal government and what they're doing and why like a lot of the um like the narrative out there um and where the feds have a kind of a small advantage is kind of like a wolf um hunting like naturally in the wild. um the predators are gonna hunt the weak and the sick out of the game that's out there, and that's kind of where they start to sustain themselves, or that analogy, and you look at 633 bands across Canada, we know are you know um, not doing too well financially, and they're relying almost fully on this government funding and these CFAs and stuff like that. So they don't have the ability to fight against, these agendas that are being pushed on us. And as much as they want to and they agree and believe that the treaty position is the truth, it's hard for them to stand on that because they don't have like own source revenue to sustain their current operation. So the government is taking advantage of that, and these kind of weaker bands in regards to financial sustainability are being victimized, and taken advantage of, and being put in positions where you almost don't have a choice but to sign. So you're one by one, that number is growing on this side, and you have these bands standing their ground on the treaty stuff, and so now you're having this conflict between bands like that.
Thank you for your patience. We're going to have an elder
And then it comes
pray
to
for
cow and plow or anything
Neil.
else like that, then now
So
it's
confirm
like
your kind attention
that
just for a
conflict
few
is
minutes.
ongoing
Uh-huh.
because you have people from these communities who are saying, this is good, we need this, it's helping us, this is awesome, you guys are missing out, yada, yada, yada. And these people who are trying to stand strong on the treaty are um, people within these communities are buying into what these people are saying over here. So it makes it even harder for us over here to like stand strong and together because, um, yeah. But I think we'll pause here.
yeah, I think
They
you're
have
gonna
the
have lunch
bundle
now, eh?
coming. Yeah,
Yeah.
the bundle's coming.
Okay. We'll pause
Well,
for a
yeah,
good cause.
yeah.
Aha, oi, hai, Wayne. Nagsanma, ikte,
Hoka. Alright guys, we're gonna go back to the main mic here.
Get a plate for them. Makio ni gan gihtiak. Scott Skoichi suig. Waha tihtea. Egamton ga miop muhti gaya. Winanto uskaisino ka natamagwa ogaya. Kigoy kamichi. So we're gonna give everybody a chance to grab a plate and come and sit down. And then we're gonna do the closing in a few minutes after people get a chance to eat a little bit. And we're gonna have a closing recommendation, and then we're gonna have closing remarks by Ogamau Lewis and also the Director of Treaty Governance, Leon Whitstone. So young people, there's some elders over here. Maybe you can get a plate for them. So helpers, young people, can get a plate for, there's an elder up here, and there's a chief up here too. Can help us out that way.
Yo. So just to finish off what I was talking about there, one of the good things about what we're doing here and the whole wolf analogy, I think how we can strengthen our communities is through raising awareness and education, which is, you know, a big reason why we're set up here. Just to keep the discussions going and create dialogue.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful day.
Exactly.
Are smiling down on us. The people of this place. The one. It's always a good feeling to come back here. Even just walking around, you can feel that power, that energy of this place. And it's a blessing too. Usually people walk down, put some tobacco down for that life. Some of the relatives here were sharing a story with us in this river here, North Saskatchewan, that somebody local caught a sturgeon that was about 8 feet long. That must have been a very old fish, been around for a long time. Boy, can you imagine 8 feet? 8 feet? Yeah. Yeah. And again, folks, relatives, thank you for your cooperation and your understanding. And it's no easy task that our elders have, but in the end, we see the results. Uksiwatsuno kihtemnog. If mis kagis mustamagoyakik. Exequapahtina no igo que miusitamagoyakik goma. Well, I finally met Teddy Bear here. I told a story before he came here about my relatives in Rocky Boy. I had a brother over there, his name was Henry Four Souls. And his father was named Four Souls. He was on leadership. So that Henry was kind of a crazy guy, my late brother, comical. I guess they were sitting in a council chambers, and he went up to his father and he said, so, Kimosum Mstemasko, your grandfather was Big Bear. And he said, yeah. And your dad was Little Bear. He said, yeah. So that must make you Teddy Bear, he told him. So we finally met Teddy Bear here. In a good way, we laugh with one another, not at one another. And they say that laughter is good medicine. And but we're not going to go too long after we eat here. But we're going to let people eat a little bit. And then once my brother here is done eating, and Ogamau Lewis, once they're done eating, they're going to be doing closing remarks along with the Director of Treaty Governance, Leon. Here wants to make a recommendation to the Assembly, and we're going to close off in that way, in a good way. So enjoy your lunch. Don't forget our visitor here, our presenter, Rachel. Grab a, grab a plate for her when you get a chance.
Yo, yo. So, hello again. Yeah, everyone's on lunch break right now. So instead of watching people eat, I'll try to fill up some time here a little bit until we get the closing remarks from Chief Lewis and Leon. Davis is munching out. So just an FYI, tomorrow tomorrow we have a podcast episode scheduled. I think at 9 a.m. I'll have to double check that with Vanessa Wasquich. So tune into that. Keep an eye out for that tomorrow morning. On Thursday, we're gonna have another podcast episode, 9 a.m. confirmed with Lair Patagan Jr. I did chat with him a little bit. He's gonna be taking off to I can't remember. I think New York, somewhere down that way. He's gonna be going for hockey. He played his last year junior hockey last season. Um, so he did sign, I think, a semi-pro contract. So he'll be coming to visit us in the studio before he heads out on Thursday. So tune in for that one. I think that'll be a good one. What else do we got coming up? I think that's it for now. Having a Scapos here coming. This one right here. Yeah. And you could push it close to your mouth. Yeah. It's a microphone. Danza toya. Oh, just wait. Okay, again.
Manato,
uh, what's your name? And tell us, how was your past few days?
very tiring and successful.
And what were you gigoy man?
Huskapilsu, Eugene Lewis and Sigasu.
Awesome. How was it for you? Few days did you camp here?
Yeah, since Thursday,
It's closer. Yeah.
since Thursday, Utsayan. Evichitasan, Matsun, Panitan, Diti Papi, Nataman, Quiz Nuwagu Maganak, Epipix Quiz Tamok, Taskio Tsegakio.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, no, you're doing good, Eugene, you know. I know all summer too you've been on that path to Scott Bilson, you know, helping yourself and trying to stay on a good road. How's that been?
Really good. I got my family back, my kids. Kids are following me on Sundance trails, powwow trails, Tinemias and Tagagitin.
Yeah. How is it like, say for a young person or young people, if they wanna get into that, te wititastic wisto wow.
I'm open to teach them, or if they came, approached me and asked me, "Kapamutaw," guys, kaskyan, mista. Magi kanta tamo, musta tipa, guys, kaksna maso chikwisto. Guys, kapias kamanista. Nista, kuneski piwanutan. Baga ne hios chigun nista, tapugita man, psta. Muy pimitagan, muy aisino, pimitaga, taga puxis, gues, tanse gues ntuan. Mai goya, tene tapugita man ne hios chigun. Ego, kakigus kayak, tene kukiks na mog, kaki kaskihun. Kapaspi na magkamatagi, gaita sigama. Agsipuga gitan.
No, that's really awesome, Eugene. Like I really like what you're talking about right now. Even the like tapugay tamawan, because I think, well, it started before, but when you go back to when the treaties were signed, that sisyawiwa kiteyak kega unigane wak utenigan kiano. That sisegwe pasaguna ma, or like to follow that path.
Ja, igoma nista ni tiut naman iga kuatsmigan tipa igoma ki pieki weni tapat man konitana no gakyo sa munio siguna yaskama ego muimstegi wab maugo sky good mes tatagut tiogo gome miasik wab mitsu sky mato iga tagut itzik skate inigo
Yeah.
skate inigo tanse kiti ga kipitu itzik egom nista nanas kumog egom kakspan.
What about the chief was telling a story this morning. I think one of his daughters heard something here last night or this morning. I don't know if you.
I didn't muy pamu speed in
You
some.
missed. Yeah, one of the ladies was sleeping there in a teepee, I think, and yeah, they heard horses and like warriors or Indians.
Yeah, gayas gipito goma timutik this morning. My god, tene meas ni tagagit in the whole summer you tam wichitas on the meet tene gom.
Yeah, right on, bro. Well, hi.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Tom.
Yes.
Well, we'll go back to these people over here.
Yeah.
All right.
Be Cree, Nakota, Anishinaabe, Dene, whatever the nation, we always put prayer first whenever we're going to ask for something good before we embark on any project or anything like that. And that way, those are going to take care of our road, take care of our discussions to a success. So I just wanted to say these few words. I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair here, AJ. He wants to make a recommendation. But anyway, Eric, if you're within the sound of my voice, in Toim go in for a few minutes. Aputsi Gapsi Mitsuin, Aputia Segi Mamitsuin. Oh, he wants to use the phone. Oh, he drove up the hill, I guess. Well, we can wait on that a little bit, though. Not long. Yeah. I'm going to turn it over to AJ. Msoatse, Minanto Gagi Toya. Eric.
Willard Harper wants to talk.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to. And Stacy.
Anoakumagantik, my friends and relatives. My name is AJ. I was born December 24th at about 15 minutes before Christmas. And my parents called me Alan Joe. But then my political buddies started calling me AJ. And for some strange reason in a national meeting, somebody noticed, like a guy that I know to my left here, noticed that I was a Christmas Eve baby, and my initial, everybody knew me as AJ, so started a new name, Almost Jesus. Hey. That was a long time ago, and I can't get rid of it. People are kind of shortening it and saying, hello, almost. Anyway, I've been involved in the organization Treaty 6, and I think some of us that are sitting here, Eric Tutusis, and of course Ron Lehman, and of course Chief Lewis, and we've been in the Treaty 6 movement for over 40 us are over 70. And we are still working on treaty issues here. And I personally been here in this, on this part of on this side of the river for, I think we'd be here over 30 years, me and the wife. Well, the wife is sitting with me. We've been here over 30 years in camps. What I'm proposing today is not a new proposal. Eric Tutusis went up the hill to make a call to his boss. Had to go up the hill to do that, but I was going to do something for him, and I talked to him about it, and I'm the guy that crowned him. That in Ontario, Cochrane, Ontario, how many years ago would that be? About 8 years ago? I crowned him to be the interim spokesperson for Treaties 1 to 11. And he's been, when Ovid Mercredi left the post, we needed to have a lead in Treaties 1 to 11. So he was the spokesperson, the Treaties 1 to 11 spokesperson on the interim. He is still an interim spokesperson for Treaties 1 to 11. And I was the one that tobacco and print and sweetgrass. And because I am the fire keeper along with my wife, we keep the fire, and we also keep the pipe, the bundle, for Treaties 11. So her and I have been doing that job for going on to a little over 20 years. And I have some authority to be presenting to individuals, even the politicians, the 11 representatives of Treaties 1 to 11 who occasionally have meetings. But they are the ones that can call national Treaties 1 to 11 meetings. We just finished one in Cold Lake, treaties 1 to 11. Good meeting in Cold Lake and Beaver Lake. Did a beautiful job hosting this one in Cold Lake just a couple of weeks ago. We also received tobacco and prints from Tsuut'ina Nation, who will be hosting the 2024 Treaties 1 to 11 at Tsuut'ina, that's Calgary area, for next summer, July or August. They will be hosting the next gathering. And we are talking about on 2026, 150-year commemorative anniversary for Treaties 1 to 11. For this Treaty 6, 150-year commemorative gathering will be here right here at this very grounds we are on. That's where we will have the commemorative celebration here. It's not exactly a celebration because treaty was never honored by the other partner, but it's a commemoration, a commemorative gathering of our people. And the point that some of the discussion is leading to is treaties 1 to 11 can be called for here at Fort Pitt, along with that famous 150-year commemorative gathering. So treaties 1 to 11, but somebody needs to make the move, and soon. Somebody needs to make the move, and soon, and give us tobacco so that we can bring the pipe from Tsuut'ina the following year, bring it here. So, leaders, you heard me. The pipe and the prince, you need to give it to me and my wife. We are the fire keepers, and we are the movers of that sacred pipe. So if we're going to have it here on the 2026, before somebody else, it works that way, you know. Before somebody else gives us a pipe and prints for 2026, please do so. If you're wishing to do the commemorative gathering at this location on the 150-year to do something special there. That's why a special committee to start getting ready. Either monthly meeting on that commemoration. We're going to have it planned. All right. Now, this man that I went and phoned his wife, I have a print, and I have tobacco for him, and I have a sweetgrass for Eric Tutusis. Eric is already in the committee for treaties 1 to 11. He is the spokesperson. He's already in it, but he was not politically designated. I'm asking the leadership here, who are here, this is a sanctioned, politically called special gathering on the anniversary date of the Fort Pitt Treaty 6 adhesion. Oh, it was started in Carleton and it was concluded here in Fort Pitt. Now, but it is a sanctioned meeting that was called. So, my role as the firekeeper of Treaties 1 to 11, a Treaty 6 member, with people from Alberta, Treaty 6, people from Saskatchewan, Treaty 6. I'm recommending that we appoint Eric Tutusis to continue on with his Treaties 1 to 11 spokesperson role, but we want to add an additional role to him so it is recognized across Canada. We want him to be known as the Treaty 6 representative. Alberta and Saskatchewan. He will be our spokesperson. Now, Alberta is here, Saskatchewan is here. I know not 50 or 60, 54, whatever, chiefs are here to listen to my recommendation, but I have 2 chiefs here that can make the recommendation. And the recommendation is the 2 chiefs can say, yes, I recommend. Second chief says, I can second the motion. Eric Tutusis to be the spokesperson for Treaty 6. You will second that motion? Okay. We're going to make Chief Lewis make that motion. Where's Chief Lewis? I don't know. Do we need the headdresses to make that recommendation? No. So, Eric Tutusis, I was talking about you while you were talking to your wife up the hill. And I see you're okay, you're smiling a little bit, so she's still okay. All right. Since you're already in the Treaties 1 to 11 committee as an interim spokesperson, we don't have a recognized Treaty 6 spokesperson at this point in time. So, because we don't have a treaty right now as we speak, we are recommending that you be the Treaty 6 spokesperson for Alberta and Saskatchewan. Yes, this is a duly called meeting. This is a duly called meeting. Everybody was called to be here. Everybody was called. And it's a special day. It's an anniversary date for commemoration Fort Pitt Treaty 6 conclusion. Okay? Okay. We have a mover for your appointment, and we have a seconder for your appointment. You will from here on in be the Treaty 6 spokesperson. And you still hold the portfolio as interim chief spokesperson, okay? So that's what we're doing with you. Smudge man, bring us the smudge, a stump. So this was my role in making him interim in Cochrane, because I'm the pipe keeper and the fire keeper with my wife. And that's how we made him a national interim spokesperson. He still holds that title until they have a national spokesperson gathering. They still have to have that meeting. So, today, if you will come, if that smudge man will come, Yeah, he's coming.
Maybe you can recommend to her to record this. Stop. So with that, we're going to do a protocol here, and I want to ask my brother Eric to come on up.
The time the signing of the treaty, neo isko igi ya kano sumotsik, ektegi vitamagos tsik, dansiteta tsik, ogmaga na dansitetuit, egoman mantanetaman, tapos yksi pajo kivihtamok, anikawi masnami the treaty, dansitetuit, yksi nigane se kispajo, uspagan kapihtona no kihto, anikawi masina hak treaty, oma kawya sutamawin omagi kway kihto, anikawi munia kape masnamit eguma kaskapa utete tohtemagan speme namoe katskap magasutamoin. This treaty will never be broken. Igi tuetesa. Egomego. Eganoem gusia kote speme. Eganoem goya. Egome goma, katispike. That's number one, egoma, treaty omoma. Ka kwepigonami, cow and plow. Tapos in a treaty egoma gi pekka stake, cow and plow. Msteiski goi pekka stake egota. Ketahta we. Old Frank Cook kihtao. Kiumosumo. Evotegi utnaat mostsoistegi mihtsiko. Tansi uhtavipanegi miht kiumosumo. Piuptsikan ki miaug. Mehtset kia ove mosso. Nanto nemta nogi mam somosumog ni hiog. Ekspi. Kitahta vega kihtuet. Ego ksein iso. Yksi piuska eujaan. Gin tohtok mana. Kseva. Kseva. Ketispa jokihto. Old Frank Cook. Hau. Ketahtoikat ponuitsi kauja kihto. Ota Indian agent ette kiha yao. Ego namtani ki pamniko ya tansike mossak totahtsik. Ike taage tsiman mossoito. Sonia ke kanoeme oke kota. Ego manikin migo ya masnaigan san tout nike ya. Stikaniki migo nantak stike ya kihto. Kapone paike tahtoiga kiogi koi. Mponuitsi konan ichoko maupaham. Ego teego munia sakki mas pahpihtuko ok. Mosto sopea tam goa. Meskutona ma goa ki koe mui miaseni kihto. Ego me mam toneta manu mana. How come cow and plow diloma kakwe tota ke kaisino? Why not collect 100 years back pay? Ostoga masnama ko no government that the treaty promise samba. You egon tagin nan to tama ekson yaonana the back pay the poni ot namego eksanma we're done. Uska ego in the future ogmaha nagita ko yasok. They want to be hard up. How? Asemina, government, they'll buy some more treaty, buy some more treaty. Ego mani gustaman, ego mutsko ipatotamano, tomoha sumatimba pixcon, because I'm not a smart person. I only had grade 2 education. Mo pongaskitan masnege anum. Now I'm stegi teang ipewichayamok. I made it 6 years old. Ever since I was 10 years old, giteagi matsin tohtok, at mam skotsegets kakiogi go yuksis. Stingi pentohti negotoa. Nekton stingskit en apps. Tansigi peitaa semmoista about the tree this man. Onko se muines nog teiltä mitnaa? Looks like you guys are all ready to go home anyway. So, onko se ai get on?
Hey, Niasen Willard. So we're going to give the last word to Ogamau Lewis, and then Elder has been asked to say a traveling prayer for us, because we never know out there, so that road spirit can be kind to us, and we can all get home in a good way, back to our home fires, and find them maybe even better than how we left them. Aho, Ogamau.
Niistä naskun. Imiugi siitä se minukuttak. Imiunaks kutatuek. Stehmani vama magigui. Kagi misma muu pikigui kiwa magigui. Action items managap may singatami. I think we have some good directives sort on how to move forward. Again, niistä nanotes kungan. Nasko maguguta, tuisui maguta, kapiepsi guisto. Isito skoutsik man. Nasko monan. Maga, iguma. Kanto tamaya. Uto tsekiwi himioasi, kakiwihta masviik. Kisto amina, miuma sihun ma muutias simaga, stehi aksun. Hipmaya kiskungan, minak tuskayimnog. Utos kakiwihta mo ay kukam mioyaon, kapmuan sihtahto. Stehi kiwi kaki, tanasko mo. I guess in closing, I thank the Creator for such a wonderful finish, 2-day dialogue, and the first day, good ceremonies. I just thank a lot of the people that showed up. Man, good representation, even though the two of us chiefs only, but there's proxy chiefs, council members that attended here. That's a lot. I guess this is not a goodbye, but farewell for now. You go safe travels home. Tapwe, Nista, I'm very uplifted, but sad in a way that we need to depart, man. Where we meet friends, now do we have to go home to our home fires? But good travels and have a safe journey home. Hi.
Hey, so with that, Nitamoy, Kagis Mustamagoya, Kamiup Mohtiak, Kakio, Wawayo, I took the Akmana, Kaigio Kapmagos Skagoyak.
Are we on? Aloha. So you gotta move this down. Yeah.
Mahalo.
Put it close. Alright. Alright. So if you look on here, the camera's there. So maybe share a little bit about your thoughts with us. And you're really awesome. I love you. Just FYI.
Tansei, Amawatich, good afternoon. So I'm sitting here with Fraser. Heathen, I came over here to get free Wi-Fi, and this is my penalty. I have to talk.
Payment.
Payment. It's trade.
Treaty
Good
payment.
trade. So I'm here in Onion Lake, and I came here, Fort Pitt. Came here to do a talk on the cows and plows because I think that we still need to have more information from the grassroots level, and I think it needs to be said simply enough so that our people can understand it. I think that over the years we haven't had enough people talk about treaty in our own communities or within our own nations, and that because of that we have no understanding of treaties. So with the taking of cows and plows and the indemnity and the indemnity clause not to ever sue Canada and the final taking of the dollars that will stop our agriculture benefits, I think it's something that our ancestors didn't envision that they never thought this would happen. So the fact that it's happening now, I think we have to keep spreading that message. We have to keep letting our people know and more importantly, letting the young people and the children know that it's people my age, 35, people my age, 50 plus, that are making these deals now and taking money now that will hurt eventually the young people or what they're entitled to or what they should be getting in the future. So that's why I think it's important. I'm always happy to come to this area and to speak to the people and to share the analysis that I give because I'm a graduate from the College of Law, University of Saskatchewan. I have my Juris Doctor, but I prefer or I choose to follow and look at our Indigenous laws. Those are the primary things I think that we should be following. As if we're Indigenous legal scholars, we should follow our own laws first before we try to uphold the Canadian legal system. That's just my thoughts for today. Frage?
Yeah. Uh, the name of this podcast and our live streaming, it's called Seventh Generation. So maybe just from your perspective, or just your thoughts around that name, and even the whole kind of concept of treaties and that were on Fort Pitt. Does how does that or
Well, I think I really like the name of Seven Generations because what it tells me is that there's continuity or that our people will always go on. And I think that's what at treaty signing our elders, our ancestors who were there, who were talking to the representatives of the British Crown, who were there trying to make an agreement to share the land and resources. Our people who were there, I think they were thinking ahead of this generation. And I know that when I was speaking here earlier, I told a story that really comes from my daughter-in-law's family and my grandson Wakia, his family, the LaBelle family, their great-great-grandpa, great-great-great-grandpa, George McLean or Tatanga Money. He was at the treaty signing. He was a little boy, but he rode like on a donkey. He went with his grandmother at the treaty signing, treaty number 7 signing. And so when I was here in Saskatchewan, when I was at law school in Saskatoon, my daughter-in-law, Tierra LaBelle or Tierra Snow, who's a traditional dancer, she was asked to be the head dancer in PA, and with her went her great grandpa, that was Bill McLean, and then her grandmother, Madeline LaBelle, her mother, Tiona LaBelle, Tierra, and then Tierra's children. So right there at that gathering or at that powwow, there are 5 generations. And so you think that's just 2 more generations to the treaty.
Yeah.
So that whole idea of 7 generations, it's about life, and it's about continuing who we are as people on this island. We were placed here. Creator gave us a purpose, a language. He gave us specific instructions to care for the land, the waters, and to live in harmony with nature and to protect these surroundings. So I think that when you talk about 7 generations, that message has to keep being passed down. And that's just when you were saying, talking about, how I could picture or how I could see that 7 generations. I thought right away when of that powwow when she was sitting there with 5 generations, and I thought how powerful that is to see a family that's been there for that long, and to be together and to um, all be language speakers from the Iahe Nakota, and proudly representing our people. I think that's what I want to see from the generations following after me. I'd like to see that keep going, continue, and that our people would always have the language. My briefcase is there too.
Scott Bills.
Just throwing my stuff's getting thrown around here. These people don't like me because I'm not an Oilers fan. It's coming out. It's all coming out.
I think it's because you're Blackfoot.
Don't you bite your tongue. I told you that the Stonies, the Yahe and Nakota, were enemies of the Blackfoot, but we're allies with the Cree. That's why I'm even on the podcast. You want to see this headset just go down. Oh, I wanted to share this with you, though, because I keep doing these profound things. You know how people do mic drop?
Yeah.
Well, I was saying that the other day. I was talking. I told my daughter, I said, I was like this, shh, shh. And I said, and for the indigenous touch, I was shh, like the rocks do.
Yeah.
Because we live in 2 worlds.
Splashing the rocks.
But it's mic drop, shh, shh.
Yeah.
Shh.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
that's my signature new move. Don't take it.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take that one. Thank you. I'm Cree. Yeah.
That's how we roll.
Yeah. Do you have any future speaking engagements?
I actually have something around the Calgary area. I was supposed to be go to Treaty 4, but I didn't hear back on that. And I just got asked today to do something else. 2 things. So it's always good to come to, gatherings, because that's how we learn. That's how the oral history, oral traditions, our indigenous laws are passed through. You have to go to places. You have to speak with the elders. You have to be able to um, speak and know what the truth or the history that you're bringing, and you have to be able to defend that or speak knowledgeably about it. Otherwise, what are we passing to our children or our kids, or what are we passing down if we aren't passing down the truth and transparency and trying to do the right thing for future? If we're just saying it, then it can be just rhetoric used by a politician. But if you live that life, don't have a vehicle, don't have a job, always protesting, getting mad, and just raising hell, which I do on Facebook.com by my website, Jux.
Yeah, so just for the viewers out there, for the ones that don't know Miss Rachel Snow, like she said, she is she went to law school and she completed that, and she chose not to swear an oath to the crown and follow that path. Instead, to use that education and training for the native advantage, and the treaty stuff like that, the grassroots stuff. So for those that don't know Rachel, that's who she is and where she's coming from. And I was really lucky to be introduced to her a few years ago. I think the first time I met her was with Chief Fox at the time, and it's kind of my first introduction to her, and seeing her in these circles speaking as an fighting for the benefit of our grassroots. So a lot of her stuff. You could find her probably on Facebook and YouTube. And when she speaks, you'll see a lot of her speaking engagements reflecting that. So for me right now, like I feel really honored to, be sitting here with you and to be able to kind of trick you into jumping on this with me.
Tapway was also my trick to get future gigs too. So don't worry, it's a mutual trade.
And Wi-Fi.
I wanted the Wi-Fi password, so I got conned into this, but it's okay because my ride is here. All right.
So your ride's where are you going?
Going home.
Where's home?
Treaty 7 territory, Minisni, Morley, Alberta. Morley.
Cool. So is that your helicopter over there?
That's my Uber helicopter. One of them.
And your colony?
The Hutterite colony over there.
One of your kids came here.
Gonna have to try to get my eggs over there.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Rachel, and hopefully we could visit more down the road.
Yeah, sure, for sure. I always enjoy doing, especially just speaking to the young people or having that message get out there. I'm always honored to be able to come into communities and share. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you for the Wi-Fi, and we had some really good food, really good talkers here, really good speakers we listened to for the last 2 days. So I'm grateful for what's been given to me.
Yes. Yeah, so the next time you're in Onion Lake or whenever you're around the area, just know you're welcome to come visit me at the band office, and we'll jump back on the air and we'll share some stories and all that good stuff.
I was just waiting. We'll hook you up.
We'll
We'll give you the gas. We'll be giving you our status card for the tax exemption gas, which surprisingly, some places that have open gas stations are not tax exempt. I'm not going to say the Pound Maker one, but I won't.
I think he just did.
He told me. I didn't say it. He just that was his news for the day.
Yeah, so Chief Lewis was walking by here just for the viewers, and I don't know if you caught that, but he gave us a thumbs up there. So it means he approves of this setup, and the reason why we're doing this is to hopefully raise awareness around treaty stuff and hopefully create education for our young people and open up doors for dialogue around this kind of stuff. So a little bit about this whole thing idea. All right, I'll let you go. Kitam, and thanks for your
Hitchamachus. We'll talk to you again.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out. Pose.